Campers Spike
Chris.
show. And here we go again. Yeah, you're actually seeing us this time, coming to you from the SNIFFLE factory here,
Yeah, still got the sniffles.
here at this glorious studios. Pointing a different direction, you're seeing my Captain America and Fantastic Four posters behind us, along with all the miscellaneous rigmarole. But anyway, hi, happy campers.
How's it going?
Like I said, this has been the SNIFFLE factory. This one was sick 2 weeks ago and made me sick a week ago, and it's just one thing after another.
I am the one that
It's
made you
all
sick.
your fault. It's always your
It
fault.
is
Even
not.
when it's not your fault, it's your fault. Remember
Everybody hates Chris.
that. Don't you dare blaspheme on a good show like that. Anyway, hearts and prayers go out to everybody over in Mayfield, over in southwestern Kentucky, from the tornadoes that hit. We are recording this on December 12th, 2021. Back on December 11th, 2021. A series of very strong tornadoes tore through the Mid-South, started in Arkansas, went through Tennessee, I believe into Missouri and into Kentucky. One tornado went 227 miles and just ran for a couple of hours and just raised absolute hell through the Midwest. So thoughts and prayers for everybody in the December 11th storms. If y'all want to help, get a hold of the American Red Cross at redcross.org, and they will have a link there on the front page. So, now that we've done our good deed, let's go do some nasty stuff. All right, Chris.
Yes.
Got anything in particular you want to talk about?
Well, it's been a while since.
It's been a while.
And honestly, news is, it's up, down.
Well, let's talk for a second about Juicy Smollett. Jussie Smollett. He swears up and down it's pronounced Juicy Smollett. He's the guy who used to be on, what was the show, Empire? Remember that show?
I know what you're talking about
guy.
now. I know what you're talking about. I didn't know who you were talking about until I was like, oh, the fool that lied. That
said he had been jumped by a couple of Trump supporters. It turned out one was his gay lover, and the other was his brother, and they were both from somewhere in Africa. And either way, he's now looking at somewhere between 15 to 20 years in prison for being found guilty on 5 of 6 charges he was up against. Weird legal year, but so listen, y'all, when you sit there and you make stuff up, first off, how is it you guys are able to make stuff up and yet none of you can write a script worth a poot? I don't get it. I really don't. We were just complaining about James Bond and Star Trek and stuff. James Bond, Star Trek, Star Wars, all those franchises, well, Star Wars not as much, but Star Trek and Doctor Who's been dead for about a decade. Star Trek's been dead for 2 decades because of crap writing. Nobody can write. James Bond is boring because James Bond is pretty much the white-breadedest good guy ever. You're not allowed to show pretty girls anymore. The cars, oh my goodness, they all run on gasoline engines, so you can't show them anymore. So all you've got are explosions, and that's it.
Yeah.
You got to have really good villains. It's the old Doctor Doom syndrome, where your heroes are defined by their villains.
Well, let's face it, when it comes to James Bond, the only reason why people actually like to watch James Bond nowadays is because of the really cool action sequences, just like the Mission Impossible movies. Everybody wants to see Tom Cruise hang on the side of an airplane without a parachute in real life. It's
A correction. Everybody wants to see Tom Cruise fall out of an airplane without a parachute in real life.
Well, that's what they hope. Even though they know it doesn't happen, they're like watching them going like, is it going to fall? Is it going to fall?
The thing with that is it's a neat visual, but how many times can you see this before you get tired of it?
Yeah.
Once. And everybody does the same. You can only see so many car wrecks, and it eventually just becomes a car wreck. It stops being special.
Yep.
So.
What happened?
And so, and especially with James Bond, we were discussing that before we started taping here. You listed Jaws, because you were brought up on the Roger Moore James Bond. You mentioned Jaws. You mentioned Odd Job, the guy with the hat that could.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that when I was a kid and I watched those movies, it had comic. There was some funny stuff that happened in that movie. Like, for instance, again, Jaws. Jaws was a villain. He was a big, gigantic dude that had a metal jaw. And there was a one of the movies where he actually fell in love with another girl that had the braces. And it was just hilarious. But it was cute, funny, and it was full of fun. And then it went from being that to like serious action. Serious action. And it's like, and I'm sorry, what is it with spy movies and snow? Why does every spy movie have to be in like the mountains, the Rocky Mountains with snow and avalanches and like it's always, I don't understand that.
You want an answer?
Sure.
Now, is that a rhetorical question, or do you honestly want an answer?
I actually want an answer. It's in
All right,
every
Mr.
spy movie.
Mr. Film Guy, Mr. Film Nerd, Mr. Film Geek, let's explain.
Okay.
Why would you film action sequences in the snow? Aside from the fact that snow is what color?
White.
White. So, what stands out against white?
Okay, now wait a minute.
Virtually every color in the rainbow stands out against white. Right?
Yes.
So everything's going to pop if you've got a white background and you know it's snow. Yeah, you're going to have an occasional tree, an occasional rock. You're going to have all this other stuff. But against basically a plain white background, everything pops, especially if you have primary colored vehicles, people in primary colored outfits. Guaranteed James Bond did not wear a white outfit in the snow. He either wore a black tuxedo or he wore some kind of... He may have worn camouflage or something that stood out even worse in the snow. But
Well, that's just lazy filmography.
well, and the thing too is, again, with James Bond has been around now for, good heavens, 60 years? Pretty close. I think Dr. No was 62. So he'll be turning 60 if he hasn't already. You've got, like I said, James Bond himself is boring as all get out. You got to either give him a personality. Sean Connery had personality. He had that. Sean Connery had that sex appeal. He had that smoldering look to him. He was like ultra machismo.
Yes.
Roger Moore always had a bit of that smirk, that kind of sense of humor. He always had like a little wink and a nod to you on the side, like, "Can you believe this crap?" But he went through with it anyway. They were hoping to follow that up with the guy from Remington Steele, Pierce Brosnan. But he couldn't get out of his contract with NBC, so they settled on Timothy Dalton instead. And he promptly ran it into the ground. And then they get a hold of Pierce Brosnan. He runs it into the ground. And then they got Daniel Craig, who, again, has that smoldering type of sexuality, but there's no character development behind it. So,
Also,
and he doesn't have any good villains to bounce off against, so it's just...
Also, the villains in the James Bond movies are also very cartoonish because they all have a scar on their face. They're all like, you know...
Cliche.
And it's like a... I don't know, it's a one-trick pony.
It's a cliche. And here's the thing, too, about cliches. There's a cliche about filet mignon. You ever heard it?
No.
Filet mignon is delicious. It's exquisite. If you're a carnivore, you absolutely adore filet mignon because it's the tenderest cut of the cow. It's like a little tiny tender tucked away inside the part of the cow that never gets any exercise. It's nice and tender and soft and moist and meaty and juicy. Okay. So all carnivores crave filet mignon. And then you have it a second day and you're like, hey, this is great. I get filet mignon second day in a row. And then third day you're like, oh, goody, it's filet mignon. And then the fourth day in a row it's like, oh, it's filet mignon. And a week later you've had it for 7 days straight. Oh, it's filet mignon. A month later you've had it for 30 days straight. Oh, it's filet mignon. And you can sit there and you can keep hitting the button over and over and over. And eventually that button's going to stick. and you're not going to get the reaction from it. Filmmakers today are so bad. Not bad as in good, but bad as in terrible. Okay, we're not talking about Michael Jackson bad. We're talking about, like, not even Plan 9 from Outer Space bad. We're talking like Revenge of the Creature from the Black Lagoon bad. Something that really, really shouldn't have existed. Hey, I got an idea. Halloween 5 bad. Friday the 13th Part 7 bad. Okay? Why do you even exist bad? Why is it that in America where abortion is safe and legal, we have to deal with your script bad? Okay? Just asking for, I'm asking for a friend, okay? See all this, no hair, no bangs left or anything? Lost because I had to sit there and sit through Black Widow, and it was like a delayed reaction, but it was just such a bad script and such bad acting and such bad filmmaking that it's one by one my hairs all fell out. And now I'm gone for 2 weeks, finally come back, shoot another video. We're doing the video on video instead of throwing up a little place card, and sure enough, all the hair's gone. Thank you, Hollywood. Thank you so much.
I have no idea what's going on here. We spent like
12
minutes talking about James Bond and how bad
well, you
it
said there
is.
was, you said there wasn't that much. You said there wasn't that much going on. So. Well, you talked about some things. Actually, we started with Juicy Smollett, but
yeah, I don't know what happened.
Juicy Smollett should enjoy his time in prison. He's gay, right? He should enjoy this. This should be like a vacation for him. It's like a resort. I'm sure somebody in prison needs a girlfriend, so there's Juicy right there. Especially once everybody starts calling him Juicy like he wanted to be because he thought he was going to win that case. You're going to regret that one, son. But anyway, as you were saying, arms crossed, not caring, rocking back and forth, just waiting for the world to pass me by. Go ahead. You got news, you got things you want to talk about in the news. Let's talk about some things in the news. Tell me, what should I care about this week?
Oh, you never know.
With 13 weeks.
You remember how we were talking, not too long ago, we talked about how Fangora is doing their own movies and stuff now?
I vaguely remember it.
Well, they are currently working on a Medusa movie.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
So apparently that is their first project in the works, is Medusa. And no words on who's going to be in it or exactly like... They didn't give much details, basically. They just said, hey, we're doing a Medusa movie. So.
Fangoria is a monster. It's a magazine devoted to monster making for like 60, 70 years. It's been around forever. They're getting into filmmaking because that's the only way a publisher is going to be able to make any money. They're following the Marvel method. Marvel was going broke until they started actually producing their own movies, getting a taste of it that way. That was a Hail Mary to try to save the company, and it worked, and so Disney bought them out. And so once again, the publishing arm is going broke, but Disney doesn't care. So back to Fangoria, and Medusa is one of those few horror-level characters that just doesn't really get a whole lot of play. Can you imagine why?
I mean, it's
There's an answer. Think about it. Why would you not make a Medusa movie? Why has nobody, I take it back, except for Clash of the Titans and the really, really, really bad remake that they did, why has nobody made a Medusa movie?
because I don't know exactly what to...
One trick pony. It's a one trick pony. There's nothing else.
I got you.
Nothing else to it. I mean, once you... It's like Friday the 13th. Once you do Jason stabbing somebody, okay, Jason stabbed somebody. Ooh, I jumped. And then the second time he does it, oh, he got another one. Here, and just like, again, like I just said, with the filet mignon, after 30 of them, you're like, Okay, move on. That's why he grabs the pitchforks. That's why he grabs the hatchets. That's why he grabs the machetes. That's why he grabs the nukes. He grabs all this stuff to kill teenage campers with and teenage counselors anyway. And then,
I mean, I don't know exactly how they're going to do this movie, but I'm actually excited to see what might happen.
It's an intriguing idea because, like I said, it's a one-trick pony. How do you do it well? You would have to. I was going to say the Mummy route, where he's like this constant threat in the background, because you couldn't have her on screen for more than 10 or 15 minutes, because if you do, she loses her punch really quick. You'd have to go the route of investigating like the myth or the legend of the Medusa, and then you find out at the last minute it's real and everybody dies. So,
be interesting. Who knows?
Or better yet, do it as a suspense movie where people are being turned to, or either turning up dead, they're being turned to stone or something else. Not even turning to stone, because that would be something that you could guess what was going on. It kind of takes away. What you would do is you would make a movie with the Medusa, but not let people know the Medusa was there. So you would go through and you would see these piles of dust and rocks laying around everywhere. And everybody's like, what's going on? Where'd all my partners go and stuff? And then in the final 10 minutes, surprise, it's Medusa. She's gunning after our hero. Our hero turns to rock, and she picks him up, dashes him to the floor, and then goes slithering off with her bow and arrow or whatever to hunt her next victim. You might be able to get a 90-minute movie out of it, but it kind of sounds more like a Netflix treatment than a theatrical release.
I don't know exactly what Fangor is going to actually start doing, but
We'll see.
So I don't know why I have this on here, but Triplet starts filming early 2020 with Arnold, Danny DeVito, and Tracy Morgan.
You were all excited about that last time we talked about Triplets.
I am. But then, as I was digging into this, I found more interesting stuff that also didn't have to do with the movie Triplets. Danny DeVito has wrote a DC Penguin comic based off of his Penguin in Batman Returns.
He did have a disgusting penguin.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta admit, he did chew a lot of scenery in the second Batman movie.
So if you're interested in seeing what Danny DeVito has in, work of a comic book and taking his Penguin character to a different level, apparently it's out now. So check it out.
See, that's you're bringing up a related subject here. The one that pops in my head is, I don't understand why people are having so much trouble making good comic books. I know it's a stupid question, because I know why people are having a hard time writing good comic books, because there are no good comic book writers left. Anyway, suck on that one. Here's the kicker. The only way you can get people to pay attention is with stunt casting. Okay? So you get Danny DeVito coming in as writing a book about the Penguin. Okay, great. That's great. Okay. Think about all the things you can do in a comic book that cost millions of dollars to replicate in a friggin' movie. Okay? Think about this. Invincible on Amazon. Didn't they go to Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Why was that not a live action series?
I think because it's already been done before. You have The Boys, same thing.
Yeah.
You have Netflix did a thing called Jupiter or something.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Yep.
Where basically all the heroes were pretty much like Justice League, except you had a couple that was way worse than all the others, and it was big time violent.
Yes. But not my point. The point is, Invincible was released as an animated series, not as a live action series. Why?
I guess because nobody ever heard of the comic book.
No, it wasn't that. There was a bidding war that broke out for Invincible. And Amazon wound up with it because they threw enough money at the creator.
No idea.
Invincible became a cartoon instead of a live action movie because it's a lot cheaper to do it in animation and comic book form than it is to do it in live action. You're not going to be able to do Invincible. Invincible is about a kid who is the son of essentially Superman. His only power is he's invincible. Okay. So, and then Superman goes bad and Invincible has to try to stop him. I don't know. I haven't actually seen the series, read the book, or cared less. Either way. There are some things that you can do with art that you cannot do with live action filming. Ask Peter Jackson about trying to make a budget with any of the Lord of the Rings anything, honestly. But speaking of which, I think they're coming up with a Gollum movie or something.
Yeah, they are.
That's a shame. Anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, again, why are we not getting more talented writers into the comic book field? Because you can do things in... We need more Jeff Johns in the comic book industry because these filmmakers with these visions, and they can't get it done because they can't get any of the Hollywood studios to actually bankroll them. Why are DC and Marvel not going out and courting these guys and say, hey, tell your story here. We got all these great artists who are kind of lying fallow right now. Hey, Steven Spielberg, why don't you come in and, I don't know, write something. What kind of idea would you have? A sequel to Duel with a shark driving the truck? I don't know. Just come up with something. He's already trying to think of sharks driving trucks. But anyway. Maximum Overdrive. Get Stephen King to write something. Get these great visionaries to write these things, and artists who would be able to do it. And you'd be able to release these things without multi-million-dollar budgets for special effects and such. But at the very least, then you'd be able to get the proof of concept out there, and then you'd get Hollywood studios interested because now you got a hot property.
Maybe.
That DC and Marvel can sit there and suck some blood off of. But anyway, maybe.
We'll see.
But it's better than not getting it made at all, right?
True.
Because there's a lot of hungry filmmakers out there who have these ideas, and they can't get anybody in Hollywood to talk to them. So imagine Sam Raimi writing, not Spider-Man. What would Sam Raimi write? What would...
Like a comic book thing?
What comic book would he write? Knowing Sam Raimi, he'd probably be writing a Little Lulu book, or Richie Rich. Something just to mess with me, because Sam Raimi hates my guts. I'm sure he takes it personally. But anyway, yeah. Moon Knight.
Moon Knight?
You could write a Moon Knight. You might do it.
Well, close. I was actually going to say The Shadow.
Yeah,
I was
there's a
actually going to
bunch
say
of
The Shadow. So you said
and honestly,
I was like, oh.
nobody can get the pulp heroes right, and that's driven me insane for decades now. But The Shadow could be such good, but
I know.
nobody knows how to handle
I
it
actually
properly
watched
because
the
nobody's
movie.
Orson Welles. Here's the problem: Orson Welles was the Shadow, the original Shadow. Nobody can do it like Orson Welles, so because Orson Welles wrote and he starred as the Shadow. Nobody else knows how to do it. They just cannot for the life of them figure out how Orson Welles did it. So they come up with all these pale little reflections of it, and they never quite get it right. I'm not even going to start. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say the movie was actually on not too long ago, and I sat there and watched it, and I'm like, oh man, like the movie had so much potential. Like I could see so much there that I'm like, I actually love this movie. Nobody ever talks about it, but it's like there's so much there that could be so great. Like they should remake this like so badly. Like I'll be totally in for it.
There are certain pulp creations you could do that. Doc Savage. Nobody's been able to figure out Doc Savage, the Man in Bronze. He's been around longer than Tarzan.
Yeah.
but nobody can figure it out because his superpower is he's really smart and he's got like a George Hamilton tan. That's why he's the man in bronze. He is literally golden colored, but he's like super smart, super athletic. Nobody can figure out how to do it.
Sad.
Oh well.
I got some little what do you call them? Useless information.
There's a first. Go ahead. This is why we had to go back to filming because it just couldn't get his reaction. Everybody missed the reactions.
So, here's a little useless information.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Carrey almost played Malcolm in Jurassic Park.
I knew I was choking on something. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Malcolm was
played by Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park.
If Jim Carrey had been Malcolm in Jurassic Park, the first one would have been made, and it would not have had the staying power it had. Because it would just had the special effects to carry it. It was Jeff Goldblum's "I don't believe what you're doing here" crap that helped make that movie. Jim Carrey, sorry, you can't carry it off, pal. Nobody would take you as snarky. They all take you as silly. And that's why nobody liked the Cable Guy, because you weren't silly in that movie.
I got much more here.
Okay, go ahead.
Harold Ramis almost played Doc Brown in Back to the Future.
I could see that, but I would have preferred Christopher Lloyd as it.
Yeah, I'm not. Like, it would have been cool, but also, like, then Christopher Lloyd would have been, like, you know.
Christopher Lloyd would have Christopher Lloyded. So.
Yeah. Ernie Hudson,
Mm-hmm.
who played Winston in
Yes.
Ghostbusters,
The black guy in Ghostbusters, yeah.
actually went to audition to do the voice of Winston in Ghostbusters cartoon series.
Yeah, I remember this.
And they literally told him, saying, "You don't sound nothing like the guy in the movie," so he didn't get the part.
Was it Arsenio got that part?
I think, yeah.
I think it was Arsenio Hall. At least at the beginning, he got that part.
So yeah.
They didn't want to have to wind up. Here's the thing with the IP: the Columbia Pictures wound up doing the animation there, and with Deke, I think, and they were already on thin legal ice with Filmation, so they really didn't want any of the guys involved in the production to have their fingers in the TV cartoon. So poor Ernie Hudson. Sorry about that, Ernie, but.
And Robin Williams almost played Jack Nicholson's character in The Shining. Yeah.
I could have seen that.
But the thing is, the reason why Robin Williams did not play, I forgot what Jack Nicholson's character's name is. The reason why, though, was because Kubrick saw his performance in
Mork and Mindy?
Mork and Mindy.
And didn't take him seriously enough.
Yeah, exactly.
The bane of all the great, especially the physical comedians.
And it turns out that the person that was actually pushing for Robin Williams was Stephen King himself.
Yeah, because Stephen King knows.
So.
And then not Stephen King, talking about Robin Williams, a missed opportunity, the Riddler. Robin Williams is the Riddler instead of Jim Carrey. Would have been that could have carried its own Batman movie. That would have, because everybody laughed at Batman until everybody laughed at Michael Keaton as Batman until they got to see him. Everybody would have laughed at Robin Williams as everybody would have laughed at the Riddler until they saw Robin Williams as the Riddler.
Yes.
To this day, the Riddler is largely considered a joke character, even though properly written, he actually can do something. But
yes, it'd be awesome though. I thought it would have been cool. Never trust rumors, even if you don't know it's a rumor. Make sure you check in on it. I'm gonna butcher this girl's name.
yeah, he is. Come on, come on, gay guy.
Letitia Wright.
Letitia Wright.
Letitia, is it
Yeah.
Letitia Wright?
Letitia Wright.
Letitia Wright.
Letitia Wright.
Who?
That's why he was scared to get too close to her. Letitia Wright. Yes.
Uh,
I know who you're talking about.
who
Letitia,
played
yeah.
in Black Panther movie?
Yes.
As Black Panther's sister.
Yes.
There was rumors that she was going to literally quit the whole thing because of the fact of vaccine, and she was pushing this and pushing that, and that she would just quit Hollywood because of it and everything. Apparently, that's all rumors. The movie was put on hold because she was injured, and filming begins back in January. Well, they'll start filming again. But apparently all those are rumors, so if you think that she is quitting the Black Panther franchise, then you are absolutely wrong.
With all the millions of dollars to be made, I mean,
know.
oh my goodness, she's cute to begin with, but now to see her in skin-tight leather, because you know she's going to be the next Black Panther.
I think she's going to be, yeah. If she is,
It's
that'd be a
either-
big surprise.
It's either going to be Letitia Wright or it's going to be the guy who played Killmonger, and I can't think of the actor's name. Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Or, here's my idea, and I've said this before, but he's right up there with Benedict Cumberbatch. He's got the cool name and everything. Idris Elba.
How would he fit in there, though?
I don't know. You'd have to fit him in somehow. There have been weirder things in comic books, so you have they saved T'Challa's brain and put it in Idris Elba's body.
Okay, let's move on from that crazy idea.
White boy who's... I'm not even drinking or anything either. That's the sad part.
Saturday Night Live.
Why?
It has gone on for 45 seasons.
Yeah, about 40 seasons. Too long, honestly.
But, get ready, because guess what?
Nah.
Apparently, the British once involved, so they are going to make their own Saturday Night Live. The British is coming. The British is coming.
Who's attached? Tell me who's involved. Don't tell me it's the BBC project either, because BBC couldn't find its ass with both hands right now.
Well, there is no BBC.
Give me some names.
Give
me some names.
It was a
names or it didn't happen.
Sky TV or something.
Yeah, that's kind of like the Fox Europe. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
okay.
Apparently they were talking to Michael, whoever the dude is over the Saturday Night Live. I can't remember his name. Lorne Michaels.
He's been the executive producer for 45 years.
Yeah. So apparently their British is going to develop their own cast and everything of Saturday Night Live. So
if it wasn't for Lorne Michaels, I would almost give it a chance. Because Lorne Michaels is an incompetent, old, befuddled fool. If it was Sky doing this and they were going in a different direction with it, I could see it happening because, again, Sky is Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch is Fox Broadcasting. Fox Broadcasting is Mad TV, which was a Warner Brothers project, not an NBC Universal project.
Well, see, I don't think Lorne Michaels is actually involved in this. I think they just asked his permission if they can do it. So I think it was more along the line of that.
Oh boy! Now this is going to go off the rail. This is going off the rails. Okay, the entire project is going to go off the rails, no matter what. Is it going to be a good off the rails or a bad off the rails?
That's the thing. I want to watch just to see.
There is 99% possibility this goes off the rails in a bad way. We get like a knockoff of the Spice Girls or something, and nobody wants to deal with it. There's a 1% chance that the dry British wit manages to win out, and we get the next Monty Python. Because it's happened before. It happened with, it happened with Monty Python, which was a BBC project.
I mean, we'll see. I mean,
if you can get... You need to get some good British comedians stepping up to host the first season to get it established, though. You need to get Stephen Fry and Rowan Atkinson and all the
Wouldn't that be awesome?
all the
If
good
they
guys
were
involved.
part of the cast,
and
I would
go
watch
in.
it.
They have to come in and they have to
Oh.
help with the writing and stuff to help get this off the ground. So
That'd be so
that's
exciting.
if
Mr.
Rupert Murdoch
Bean could
get
be
people
part
talking.
of like a sketch.
No, you do a Blackadder. Well, you could, with the Saturday Night Live format, you could do Mr. Bean call-outs. You could do Blackadder rip-offs, and
It'd be awesome.
you can even get a
I'm
May
excited.
Gray. You can even get a May Gray reference in there just to tweak everybody's noses. Anyway. And with all the British stuff, if you've gone on BritBox or Acorn TV lately, you know everything follows formulas over there. So that's just easy pickings. And to make fun of their Yankee cousins across the pond, that would be hilarious. Because I don't think a lot of Brits are overly impressed with the response to the Coof campaign either. So, especially Brandon over there in the White House in his little hustle and hussy of a vice president. But anyway, did I say that? That would be wrong of me. Go right ahead. She is half Indian, you know. So the British can get their pound of flesh if they want. Go ahead. Go ahead. I don't care. I don't care. Y'all go ahead and cancel me. We've got what, 3, 4 followers? Go ahead and cancel. We need the publicity. You go right ahead.
I like how you we go from one thing and then all of a sudden we're over here and I'm like
The Beloved and I. Here's the true story. Beloved and I, we keep a little Hot Wheels car on our kitchen table, and we'll start talking about something. It could be something totally innocuous. About 5 minutes later, we're discussing some kind of esoteric principle about the laws of thermodynamics. So the Beloved will actually pick up the car, put it down in front of me, and challenge me to explain to her how we got here. We need one of those for this show. So,
oh, that's good.
so if you see a little Hot Wheels at the bottom, look for the little Hot Wheels car at the bottom, and then you'll wonder, how did we get here? So, what else you got? We're already 40 minutes into this. We need to wrap.
Author Anne Rice has passed away at 80.
Huh, I didn't hear that.
She is the well-known writer for Interview with the Vampire, which is also one of my favorite books and movies.
All kinds of gothic romance things, I think Anne Rice was famous for. I didn't know that. She was 80?
Yeah, 80.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I saw that. I saw many deaths of celebrities I've never heard of, and then they got to Anne Rice. I was like, oh, Anne Rice. I was like, oh no.
Well, Bob Dole passed away. He was 98. You remember Bob Dole?
Yeah.
He actually, Bob Dole, God bless him, he was dry as the Sahara. He actually left behind a goodbye note to America, and in part of it, he did a little dig at Chicago, saying, "I'm going to a better place now, where I'll be able to see my wife, and I'll be waiting for my kids, and if it's anywhere near Chicago, I'll be able to vote again." So it's. Listen, I just wanted to, half the times I wanted to smack Bob Dole upside the head, the other half I just wanted to shake his hand. But anyway, what else we got? Anybody else die? That we gotta worry about? Good. Good.
But here is some big
Nobody's
news.
dead. That's
I got big news.
Now it's big news.
Big news, and a rant that I want to go on.
Oh boy.
Yes. All right. So big news.
Yes.
Sony is doing their own thing of Spider-Man. You probably have already heard about this. But
I did want to discuss this. Go right ahead.
But apparently, an article came out either today or yesterday by Tom Holland himself, who said that basically what's happening is that there is not going to be a remake of Spider-Man or anything like that. But basically, somebody, I forgot the dude's Reitman, something like that, from Sony, and Iger.
It's not Ivan Reitman. I can't remember his name. He was involved with the Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh,
Jason Reitman, I think.
No.
Not Jason.
This
is Ivan Reitman. That's right. I'm getting them confused.
This dude is actually he's head over.
I'm confused. It's Ivan Reitman. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And Iger was basically talking about how Sony and Disney can actually work together and come up with some type of situation. So the deal is that yes, Tom Holland will also be part of Sony, but Sony is planning on doing basically spin-offs. So Morbius, Venom, there's going to be a slew of those movies, and possibly doing something with Spider-Man, but it's going to be like.
Here's the thing. Marvel back in the 90s, Marvel needed money. So they were pimping their properties out to everybody in Hollywood who would give them a thin dime. Even Roger Corman wound up with the Fantastic Four franchise in the early 90s because Marvel needed the money so bad. A lot of that wound up with Fox, and that's a big part of the reason why Disney bought Fox, because they wanted Star Wars, they wanted the Marvel.
Yeah.
They wanted the rights to the rest of the Marvel stuff. Sony wound up with the Spider-Man franchises, and Marvel, once they got some success, they wanted to buy it back from Sony, and Sony's like, F you, no. We all these superhero movies are making all this money, we want to make money. And sure enough, they were one of the ones who led the way with the first Spider-Man movie. They're the ones who helped establish the superhero genre, so they kept the franchise. And the thing is, the deal they signed with Marvel says, in perpetuity, we can continue to, as long as we make the payments on the time and the checks don't bounce, we can keep the Spider-Man franchise as long as we want. And that's exactly what they've done. Disney is desperate to get a hold of that sweet, sweet spider money. And that's why they've been willing to tolerate. Disney does not like working with other studios. The last time Disney actually worked with any other studios of note was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that was '88.
Yeah,
and that was because you had a bunch of people attached to the project who really wanted it to happen all over Hollywood. You had Steven Spielberg over at Warner Brothers pushing for them to get involved, and you had all these other guys involved in it.
Thank God they did.
Sony, right now, I want to say two things. First off, Sony is batting 1,000 right now. I don't know if it's because they're owned by a Japanese firm, so they're kind of immune to all this
bullshit.
All this garbage that's coming out about pushing an agenda with movies and TV and books and music and all this other stuff. Always push the agenda. PTA. Sony has been, I'm not going to say totally immune, but they've been largely immune to it because they fell for it back in 2016, and they fell for it hard when they did Ghostbusters Answer the Call. They know there's no money there. They want nothing to do with that. That's why they went ahead and greenlit Afterlife to see if they could resurrect the franchise, and because they would put money into Ghost Corps to try to establish a little sub studio to start pushing that franchise. Sony with Spider-Man has franchises for days and days and days. Okay, we've got Spider-Man, we got Venom, we got Morbius coming up. The Black Cat. How in the world this is not... You have an excuse to make Halle Berry look like an idiot. And you have not taken it. Oh my goodness. What sexpot in Hollywood wants to be the Black Cat? Where you can actually make your name and do some acting chops, because Black Cat, even in the comic books, is a joke. All she is boobs and a butt and a skin-tight black outfit with a fur collar. But if done properly, you can out-Catwoman Catwoman. Okay, because Black Cat is a straight-up Catwoman ripoff for Spider-Man. A lot of the characters in Spider-Man are just flat ripoffs of other characters. So, Moon Knight, believe it or not, came spinning out of Spider-Man. The Punisher came spinning out of Spider-Man. All these franchises got their start with Spider-Man. For that matter, if Disney really wanted to push it, Wolverine started in the Hulk comic book. They could make a statement that they want Wolverine. Although they finally got the X-Men, so the point is moot. But
I think Sony was doing I don't know if it's Sony, but Somebody was supposed to be doing a Lobo movie. That's DC, though.
That's DC.
No, never mind.
Lobo's another one of those one-trick ponies.
Sorry,
It was cool in the 90s, and that was about it. But anyway,
I got a
what I'm trying to say is there's so many directions you can go in with Spider-Man if you're willing to go down that road. I actually saw a list of potential spin-offs from the Spider-Man franchise, and there's at least a dozen projects, just low-hanging fruit waiting to be done.
I think that's what they're doing because of the multiverse is
that's
now
exactly what they're doing.
thing, so it's like...
So you've got, now this past week, we saw the release of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is the sequel to the animated Into the Spider-Verse. Gotta admit, it looks like it's going to be aping it looks like it's got the same animation team on it. Looks like they're going to be aping the style, which is fine with me because I absolutely adored the visual style of the first one. But I don't know who all's attached. I don't know what all's involved. I know we're going to see Miles meeting Gwen again, and so there's going to be all kinds of fun stuff there.
Miles is much older.
And the other thing too is by jumping into the multiverse, now all of a sudden you can do a Spider-Man noir movie.
Yeah.
You can do a Spider-Ham movie. You can do a Spider-Girl movie. You can do all these other things. Oh my goodness, make a Spider-Girl movie with Anna Mayday Parker. Do you even know who that is?
Nope.
There was an idea back in like the early 90s of Peter Parker gets stabbed. Peter Parker gets seriously hurt. He can't be Spider-Man anymore, so he retires, but he's already married to Mary Jane. They have a little girl named Anna. And so they name, because after May Parker passes away, they have a daughter named Anna, and so they call her Mayday, because she's always in peril. Just like Aunt May was always in peril. Anna May. Okay?
Gosh.
Make that one, but make it about Spider-Man having to be a good dad. Learning how to be a dad, and Mary Jane having to learn how to be a good mom. And they don't know at first she has these powers. She has to hide it from them. But Peter Parker's Spider-Man, he's been down this road so many times. He knows these things never work out well. So it's kind of like what you got Into the Spider-Verse, but it's on a more personal level. Kind of like Into the Spider-Verse kind of crossed with Afterlife, where you have a lot of family attachments and stuff. Do that. There's, like I said, a dozen projects, and it all comes off the multiversal idea.
So I think that's why, like, they met with Disney to have this huge discussion about, common ground to do stuff to where it's like, hey, we can still do this, but we would also like to do this, but we might need this Peter Parker to be also involved in these things that we're doing.
Well, and the other thing, too, is if you look at Disney's Marvel stuff, it's all in one universe.
Yeah.
Sony's the one that's been pushing the multiverse concept, and that's how Spider-Man turns up in the Marvel movies. And so now all of a sudden it was originally going to be like a multiverse crossover there in Captain America Civil War in order to get Spider-Man crossed over. And then at the last second they're like, no, let's just do a straight crossover. And that's, not only does that enable Sony to have this huge new breadth of projects, and of course Marvel's going to get a taste of it, but they don't have to pay anything for it. Disney loves making money without having to spend it. That's the one thing they still remember in their little lizard brains. So, for that matter, The Lizard is another potential spin-off. There's another horror movie. There's all kinds of horror movies you could spin off of Spider-Man, believe it or not, because spiders are creepy.
Oh, yes.
It is. Spider-Man, believe it or not, when it originally began, they were talking about making it a horror franchise. The book, the original comic book back in the 60s, should we make it a horror franchise? And Stan Lee was like, no, I'm going to go the traditional superhero route, but I'm going to make him a teenager so the readers can identify with him better. And it worked out pretty well that way, because compare that to Werewolf by Night or Morbius or any of these other things for that matter, or Ant-Man. Ant-Man was more of a straight-up horror story to begin with because he got stuck in an anthill and had to escape. That was the origin of Ant-Man. Hank Pym discovered these little particles that made him shrink, and he fell into an ant anthill, and he had to escape. And all these ants don't know what he is, so they think he's food. He has to escape. It's a horror story. It wasn't until late. It wasn't until his second appearance that he figured out that they brought him back because it made such an effect, had such an impact on readers. Stan Lee brought him back, gave him the little helmet with the little antennas that let him communicate to ants. Now all of a sudden he's a superhero instead of a horror story. Howard the Duck, for that matter, was a. I believe actually Howard the Duck is kind of a spin-off of Spider-Man 2. But,
Okay.
although that was more of a straight Steve Gerber thing, but it tapped into that same thing. That Spider-Man was in the first Howard the Duck thing instead of Howard showing up in a Spider-Man book. But
Good Lord.
the precedent's there. And let's be honest, Howard the Duck would fit the sense of humor of a Spider-Man story much better than most of these Marvel things.
That is true.
Guardians of the Galaxy is about the closest you're going to get in the regular Marvel Cinematic Universe to a good fit. But anyway.
We'll see what Sony does.
And for that matter, who handles the multiversal movies? Sony does. And Howard comes from a different universe, so...
Well, they've been planning on doing a Howard the Duck movie ever since, what was it, Guardians of the Galaxy, when he first made his appearance.
Yeah, but they're still trying to chase all the flies from George Lucas off the project. Because everybody on the planet would sit there and laugh at Howard the Duck. And not in a good way either. But if you could rehab Howard the Duck and make a really good, funny, satirical movie out of it, your career's made, man. That's how Sam Raimi got into the mainstream between Army of Darkness and Spider-Man. That's how he made his bones. And Sam Raimi's never going to go hungry again.
True.
Neither is Bruce Campbell, although Bruce cannot handle another Army of Darkness movie. The poor guy. I love you, Bruce, but man, he's already said his body can't take another Evil Dead movie. And I can't blame him because how old is Bruce Campbell now? He's in his 60s, ain't he? I have no idea. I don't have access to my computer right now. But anyway.
Well, he's...
Still love you, Bruce. You big sexy hunk of cheese, you. Anyway. What else you got?
Some more history going on.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman will be playing Lucille Ball in the biopic movie called Being the Ricardos. And I'm pretty sure it's going to focus on all the things that they had to go through as a married couple in Hollywood, where, of course, Ricky was an actual, Latino, and how, people perceived that, all that good stuff.
It's not a bad idea, but I could think of about a half dozen actresses who could do better than Nicole Kidman. But the only reason it's getting made is because of Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't want to see Nicole Kidman as Lucille Ball. No thank you. Next.
All right.
Well, that was short, wasn't it?
Here's my...
short and bittersweet. Go ahead.
Here's my rant.
Yay! Let's wrap it up with the rant, because we're already at 50 minutes.
Ridley Scott.
Oh, Lord.
Went on a rant himself because his movie The Last Duel didn't do no good at the box office. And he blames it that everybody's into the whole superheroes and all that stuff. So here's my rant. It's called marketing. Okay? Nobody knows what The Last Duel is. Also, just because you have Matt Damon and the dude from Star Wars in it doesn't mean nothing. So just because you get two big names in it doesn't mean anything. Also, due to the fact that it is a movie about the knight in shining armor, except it's more of a drama because it's a woman that accuses of a man of sexually harassing her, and the king or her husband, who is a king, apparently doesn't like that. Of course not. And it's her say, his say, all that stuff. It's a drama. Nobody cares about that. Okay? There are several movies that is out right now that the marketing, there is none. And it is not doing anything at the box office. Trust me, I work at the theater now. I know these things. Kid you not, there is a movie called Belfast. Belfast is a movie nobody knows anything about. But it's directed by oh, I have the name.
He has the name. He had
The
it.
dude that
was directed
directed
by some
Thor. The dude that directed Thor. Brahma, Brennan, whatever.
Kenneth Branagh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, he directed this movie called Belfast. Nobody knows what it's about. Guess what? Nobody's going to see that movie.
What's it about?
I don't know. I haven't never seen a trailer.
If it's about the Irish Troubles, I would go see it. Because I've always been curious about it. I've never understood that.
I don't know. There's no trailer
Belfast
for
is
it. I
Ireland.
can't.
Irish Troubles.
I mean, if you looked it up.
Or it's about somebody always after his lucky charm.
Last night in Soho, a movie that came out. That movie had one person that showed up to that film.
That many?
It was taken out of the theater. The Last Duel, also, one person showed up for that movie. No, I didn't watch it. I just know what it was about. So I was trying to figure out what it was about. The thing is, it's all about marketing. If you, just because there's a big name attached to a film, but nobody else knows about it, it means that nobody's going to come and see your film. You got to push trailers. You got to push ads on television, computer, all phones. Marketing. But he's wanting to fuss that everybody goes and sees superhero movies. That's because everybody hears about them. It's called marketing. Market your shit well, and your stuff will actually be seen by somebody. But Night in Soho, Belfast, two movies that are out right now. There's another movie coming out that is a romance film called Remember Love. That basically all it shows is two people kissing on the poster. It's like, oh, well, we already know what this is about. Nobody's going to see it because nobody's ever heard of this movie. I just know because there's a poster there. Marketing people. That's my rant.
Okay. Nice.
Sorry.
Let's say one more thing. Let's wrap this up real quick. Okay, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Because both of our butts are asleep sitting in these chairs. Anyway, I agree with you on the marketing part. People really don't pay a whole lot of attention unless you actually get the message out.
Yes.
Problem is, these guys, Kenneth Branagh, okay, like you said, making Belfast.
Yes.
How many Kenneth Branagh fans are there?
Not many.
So what
Probably
would be the target market for Belfast? Yeah. Here's an idea. Hold on. Wait. Take everything you just said, and I'm going to say 5 words that are the exact antithesis of what you just said. You ready?
What?
The Passion of the Christ. The only reason that got made is because Mel Gibson wanted it to be made. Mel Gibson put his own money up for it. Mel Gibson did his own production company so he could make this film. This film was extremely violent. It's controversial to this day. There are people who cannot watch this film. I can't watch this film again. I saw it once and I was like, I don't need that in my life anymore. I understand God. I'm on your side on that one. It made a fortune. No distribution. Okay. No distribution. No campaign to advertise it at all. No studio wanted to touch it. And yet it still made a fortune. And it cemented Mel Gibson's reputation as a filmmaker. Nobody took him seriously up until that point. He was able to make Braveheart because he made Passion of the Christ. Because he showed he had the stones, the gonads to get it done.
Braveheart came first.
Did Braveheart come first?
Yeah, that was made in the early 90s.
Okay, well then I'll take your word for it. The brain don't work that well. Either way. But the reason he's still a thing right now is because of Passion of the Christ.
But do you know why that movie did sell so well?
Why is that, Christopher?
Because controversial.
It was controversial
People by word by mouth.
Word of mouth. Exactly. People got, forgive me, passionate about it. And so you had churches buying up entire theatrical seats, entire theaters full of seats, just so their church members could go see it if they wanted to. And they went and saw it. it made a lot of money. Now, was it the blockbuster of the year? No. But people still talk about it to this day. Passion of the Christ came out what? I can't even remember what year it came out, but I couldn't tell you what else came out with it. I have no idea. I told you I can't tell you. But either way, yes, not having a marketing plan can set your project back severely. It's true. Unless you have extenuating circumstances. If you have a really powerful story, like the Passion of the Christ was, if you have a really passionate story that's told well, it sells itself. Otherwise, unless it sells itself and it's performing up here, Belfast, is going to be down here. You got to do this much marketing right here to elevate Belfast up to this level where you get the passion going for it.
See, that's the thing. Like Kenneth Branagh, who also has another movie coming out that I really want to see, which is Death on the Nile. He plays Perot. It is the sequel to Murder on the Orient Express. That movie's coming out, and I've already seen a couple of trailers for that film. That is being brought out there. Not many people know about Agatha Christie's books or any of the murder mysteries. They don't know who Perot is. I do because we grew up.
On the other hand, there is name recognition there.
Yes.
People know who Agatha Christie is. They've heard of Agatha Christie even if they don't know who she is.
But by their parents.
By the parents. But on the other hand, how many so-called, quote, new projects out there are really gaining any legs? Huh? Dune came and went again. And that was supposed to be a great movie. Who saw it? Is it still in the theaters? I don't know. Is it still in the theaters?
Well, I think the only reason why is because that's also on HBO Max.
I'm sorry, but you're going to have to stop. Hollywood's going to have to stop hiding behind streaming as an excuse. And we do need to sit down and have a discussion about the future of streaming at some point in the future. Because I think things are about to take a severe change when it comes to streaming. I made this prediction 2 years ago about where streaming was going. Actually, 3 years ago now. About where streaming was going. It's going to hit the fan a lot harder than it is right now.
Well, see, we made this discussion at the beginning of the year when they came out and said, all these movies are going to be in theaters, but they're also going to be on HBO Max. Godzilla versus Kong, all these movies. And we were like, that's a big mistake because things are opening up, the vaccine's out, and all that stuff. And now here they are, Dune, we're at the end of the year. Dune came out, but people also watched it on HBO Max instead of going to the theaters. They didn't think theaters was going to thrive again. And then all of a sudden, movies like Free Guy,
Afterlife,
Shang-Chi, all these other movies went to theaters, and everybody went to the theaters to watch again. And it's like,
people want to get out of the house. These business guys never think that far ahead.
No.
The incredible part is their job, their entire existence is to sell to human beings, and they don't understand human beings for Adam.
Yeah. Free Guy made so much money at the box office, but that was because that was the only movie that came out that did not go to streaming. And then they were like, maybe theaters are okay again. We're shocked.
They weren't able to get rid of them like they thought they would. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time. Chris, any final thoughts before we wrap this? Because we're already an hour into this.
Stay safe. If we don't see you sometime soon, happy holidays.
I got one last thing I want to say because this will be the final Spike and Chris show. You know why? Stand by. Hold on.
Oh, that's right. He told me about this.
Mwah, 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 mwah. There we go.
We're back, baby.
We are finally back. It'll be a couple of weeks, but no, actually it'll be next week because you know why?
What?
I want to do our first ever live episode. You put it there so you can see it. We're going to do our first ever live episode, our first live stream. We're going to come from We're going to come from 10th Frame Cinema live next Saturday about 3 o'clock after we finish watching Spider-Man. And as soon as we see that, we'll come on and we'll give our live reaction with the first episode of Season 2 of Geeking Out.
We might as well do what we did with Ghostbusters because we analyzed all the other Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
We might as well do the same thing with the Spider-Man movie and just like analyze all the other Spider-Mans and just...
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know whether we'll be able to live stream inside the lobby of the theater or not. But if not, I'm just going to put it right there. So, but if not, we'll live cast from the parking lot or something. We'll live cast from the middle of the street. We don't care.
Yeah,
But
we'll figure it out.
so starting next week, we'll be back with new episodes of Geeking Out. At long last, I'll have a new opening for it and stuff. I'll release it sometime this next week. And so between that, the Chore of Duty, we've got UncaJuju.com, which I promise I'm going to start working on again now that I've gotten over Chris-itis here. But we've got that. I've got other projects I'm going to get ready to start working on. We'll keep you updated. Follow us on the podcasts on Anchor.fm or wherever else you steal your podcasts. Check us out on, you can find, well, Geeking Out now, not Spike and Chris Show anymore. You'll find Geeking Out on YouTube and on Facebook. You'll find the Chore of Duty on Rumble and possibly in other places here shortly. But all in all, we're working on doing some stuff. And the question is when, where, and how. So I imagine you probably know more about live streaming than I do at this point. But we might we'll make an announcement at some point. We may either do the live stream to YouTube or Facebook, or maybe we do it to both. Who knows? We'll see. If it means we both have to have our phones going at the same time in order to live stream to both, that's what we do.
I did buy a long time ago. I haven't even put it together because I don't know exactly how. Sorry. But I did buy a keyboard and a camera to hook onto the laptop.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fine. So. Yeah. We may wind up doing this over Zoom sometime. There's no telling.
Zoom.
Just do the show over Zoom every week instead, and just live stream every week. At least then I won't have to. At least then I won't have to buy you lunch every Sunday.
I never asked you to. You
Until
just
next
do it.
time. Oh, like you're gonna complain about
I'm
it.
not complaining.
Till next time, Spike.
Chris.
That was the show. We'll see you all next week
Legal.
for Spider-Man Into the Hoo-Ha.
Legal.
Take care, y'all.
Legal.
Hey, turn it off.